Welcome to Jacket Jockeys with Justin.
And me, the lady in the kimono.
Oh no, not again, not
Yeah, she's
again.
back.
What's your deal?
I just like to go around using my ghost finger to take Polaroids.
Is that what's going on?
That's
Ghost
a
finger
ghost
Polaroid?
finger. Yeah, well, Polaroids.
Ghost
Hey,
finger.
ghost finger. Well, that'll be a spinoff.
You
Copyright
loved
again.
idle hands.
Ooh, now you love Polaroid fingers. What's up? It's me. Hi. It's
Hey,
not. It's not. I'm not.
welcome back. We're here for our off-season Fromcast. This is season 3, episode 7 of MGM Plus's acclaimed mystery horror drama series From, and the title of the episode is These Fragile Lives.
Oh. Is that like a phrase? Is that like from Shakespeare or something?
Not that I know of, but
Okay.
it might be from something.
Okay. Seems like it should be.
It does. I agree.
Um,
I agree.
yeah. Hmm. Well, whose fragile lives? We've got the
I mean, I know
one.
these foolish
These,
games.
tearing you apart,
Yeah, etc.,
etc., etc.
etc.
Yeah.
Yodel, yodel, yodel.
We as this episode a lot about Fatima's pregnancy
Yep.
in quotes.
Yeah,
And
or lack thereof.
yeah, obviously things come to a head with Tilly.
Indeed, and the foreshadowing
Um
was heavy.
it was
I think I didn't
heavy.
catch it until I watched it again. It was like, oh,
Yeah. And we haven't Copsta is back and has
yep,
fully solidified her role as the most hated person. We needed a new person to hate
yeah,
because they're redeeming Randall,
yeah,
and Dale is dead in the side of the pool. So,
right.
we needed an
Asshole
asshole.
in town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 Jade was redeemed long
yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah. True. Yeah, Jade's way past that point.
Why shows always feel like they need, well, I shouldn't generalize, don't I'm surprised by how frequently shows feel the need to establish a character who just has no redeeming qualities, terrible personality. It seems like a cheap way to get friction.
I agree. I agree, and I was gonna say. Yeah, when we get to that scene, I have some specific comments about not only the scene itself, but where I think that's all going.
Mm.
So I will.
Mm.
That's a little tease for you. I have some comments to
Oh
say
man, I
later.
just had a thought that I didn't have before based on what you just said. So we'll see if I still have it when it
Ooh,
comes around.
do you want to say it before you
No,
forget, or okay?
no.
Another thing I'll point out is
But it
that.
has to do with foreshadowing. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Another thing I'll point out is that the the first time I watched this, I actually didn't see that they show us what the Polaroid showed.
Yeah, it's
Like I
it's
missed
a really fast
I
shot.
looked away at a bad moment and I'm like, wow, that's weird. They never showed us what was in the Polaroid. What a mystery. And then I
Yeah,
watch it again, it's like, no, it's fully in the
yeah,
frame. And they literally put it right over what it's showing and then
yeah.
show the thing. It's the root cellar hatch, as I'm calling it. That's right. It's a hatch.
Uh-huh. It is.
Anyway, yeah. And then another thing I was gonna say, just about this episode in general, I think it's in keeping with the previous ones, although we do get what I would call a pretty significant escalation at the end of the Fatima plot, at least. I mean, that's pushing it into a place where they can't just go back after that. Like something serious has to
Yeah.
change now that a murder has occurred. So that's kind of a big deal. I felt like the other storylines got to like the verge of something. So we got like, Jade and Tabitha, and they go to the cabin area where the totems were, and she had the dream, and they kind of speculate on what it means, but they don't quite, they reference the cabin thumper, but they don't quite, it's like they're like
Yeah.
walking up to the edge of something, but nothing happens. And then like Victor, taking Jasper and going to Sarah, which I predicted, though I didn't predict exactly why, but nonetheless it did happen. And then but we don't get the, follow up there, so like that's kind of hanging in the air.
Yeah.
um And so I feel like Julian Randall is sort of along those lines too. Like they walk up to the edge of something, like they go to that the ruins of what the From Wiki calls the dungeon, which is where Martin was, and also where they were imprisoned for a while.
Yeah, that's a
um,
fascinating thing.
very
Tantalizing.
tantalizing, and definitely hinting
Um,
at something, but again, they don't push it. It seems more like a setup for something they're gonna do in
uh-huh.
the later part of the season. And again, things are and Elgin too, right? Elgin has the
Uh-huh.
photograph, the Polaroid mysteriously activates from the ghost finger, and then he goes to the place where it shows, and he goes down there and he starts investigating, and then we even see the kimono lady, and she says some weird shit, but like again, it's like it doesn't really reach a conclusion. It's like, what was that about? I don't know.
Mhm.
We'll have to wait and find out, presumably. So they've definitely been slow rolling that. I mean, I've definitely noticed that about new shows. Um, new I just mean shows that are on like the more modern TV timeline of 10 to 12 per season,
Uh-huh.
that a lot of times characters could get like one thing per season,
Yeah.
like this is your thing, and we'll just kind of slowly unfurl it through the season. And that's definitely what's been happening with pretty much all of those storylines.
Yeah,
you
it
know
makes sense. There are a lot of
yeah,
characters.
totally,
Um,
totally, totally. But when you think back to early earlier network timelines, with 2025 whatever, they would have like multiple stages,
yeah.
um, and it's like they don't really have time to do that. The next stage will be next season, presumably. But anyway, yeah, I think it is mostly a table setting episode, but yeah, one of the storylines, Fatima specifically, does progress in a very significant way. So I'll definitely give it that. And I still enjoyed the episode. I think I'm thinking hard here. Yeah, I think it was still, I would say, like minimally supernatural, but obviously the Polaroid and the kimono lady and stuff, counts. Um,
Yeah, the
but there wasn't a ton.
cicadas.
What?
We see some cicadas,
Oh, cicadas. Yeah, the cicadas and Fatima as well.
though it's not
Maybe
clear.
is supernatural, although
Right.
I don't actually know what I'm supposed to think about that.
Right.
They're being very cagey about what's going on
Yeah.
there.
Same with the cicadas.
Definitely same
Yeah.
with the cicadas. Yeah, which has been a running thing all season, right?
Yeah.
Like he was seeing those, and they showed it in the previously on too, and like
Yeah.
it's like, what's the deal with those cicadas? Like I don't know. I really don't know. What are they doing? I don't know. And they even go back to the place. It really seems like they're gonna do something with that dungeon
Yeah,
again.
it felt like and I know this is skipping way ahead, but um it didn't feel like a coincidence that the cicadas showed up just in time to stop them on the road right by this structure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
what that
agree.
what that means, IDK, but
Yeah, 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 yeah. But like, I was really skeptical that they would revisit anything from season two, but it kind of seems like they will. I don't know.
yeah,
That's what it looks like to me, at least.
yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure where that's going. I guess we can talk about it a bit more when we actually get there. All right, so you ready to like jump in with
Let's
stuff?
do it.
Okay. So I just had to make a comment about previously on this time, because it did
Yeah,
this thing. It did this thing that bugs the shit out of me when previously on does it, where they show a scene out of context and it implies that the context is different from what it actually was. The reference point that's probably worse that I'm thinking of is that thing from Yellow Jackets where they showed them eating Shauna's baby, and gave no indication that that was merely a dream,
it
that
was.
that didn't
Yeah,
actually happen. And then she's mad at Lottie the whole episode, and it's like it almost seemed like they wanted to make it true. They wanted to make it that they actually ate the baby, but they didn't quite want to do it for real, but they wanted all the consequences of that being true, like. And anyway, I feel like here, they do this thing where they show Tilly seeing the kimono lady, which was an Elgin's dream.
Right.
And like it implies that she, but it's like,
Yeah, that was a dream. Yeah, it's very annoying when that happens, and it makes me wonder why.
yeah.
Like who is making these previously ons, and yeah.
Yeah, it's like, were they just trying to be efficient because, this is going to be like Tilly's death episode and they wanted to get Tilly in there. But they also wanted to set up Elgin, and they were like, we can do it 2 for 1. We'll set up Elgin and Kimono Lady and Tilly at the same time by showing this thing, even though it doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, like, she was there when he saw the Kimono Lady in the kitchen as well, and he was awake at that time. They could have played that one, the one where she
Yeah,
said "help me" for the first time.
yeah.
It almost seems like it would have made more sense to play that one. But anyway, I don't know what they were thinking, but it bugged the shit out of me. So I just had to mention it. And then yeah, continuing my tradition from Jack Jockey's days and last week, I just want to do a quick check-in of things that were not mentioned this
Please
week,
do.
including the boy in white.
Yep.
The fact that Fatima thought she was pregnant because she took a pregnancy test.
Yep.
No one seems to have not acknowledged that. I almost feel like they forgot that that was where that all started. Like they're playing
Yeah.
it like there was no evidence and it was all in her head or something.
Well,
And
there
it's like,
was the line, at least, and I was glad for this, where Christy says, "You may well have been pregnant, and you are
mhm,
not pregnant anymore."
yeah,
And
yeah,
that I was really wanting them to say. So it's not the same as explaining why she thought she was pregnant, but I think that it does something similar.
yeah. I just feel like, Fatima's complaining the whole episode that like no one believes her. They all just think she's crazy and imagining things and so on. And I just feel like the most obvious thing to mention is I took a pregnancy test. How do
I
you
know,
explain
but
that?
I know, but I think that this is where, because they haven't had that line, there's been a subtle shift in what it is that she's complaining. Like she's sh- it's not like in they're not disputing the fact that she ever was pregnant, or that when she took the pregnancy test she was pregnant, but that she is pregnant right now. She keeps insisting that she can feel something inside of her growing, and they're saying it's not a baby. And so, she has this line later on in their bedroom, which has got to be so drafty. I don't know how she's hanging out in just a camisole, but whatever. um
Yeah.
the uh the fear that she has that if there isn't something growing, then it's if there's not a baby, there's something wrong with her,
Yeah.
and that's why she's so it's like they're trying to pivot us away from that, and that's why they're not saying that. But what you're saying is, like, you need a line like that so you can let go
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. It bothers me when they never mention
I know, but
it.
I think that the line that they gave us in this episode that is trying to address what you're getting at is Christy saying, "You might have been pregnant."
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
But I
I'll
hear
buy
you.
that. I'll buy that. I want a little more specifics,
Yeah, I think at
but
this point you're really not going to get it.
I think you're right, for the record. But it's bothering me, so I have to bring it up because I bring up things that bother me. Anyway, the other thing that's bothering me in the exact same plot line is the blood eating. Like, I feel like they've been dancing around what they actually know. I think, but I can't say for sure because they're so vague about the lines that imply what they
Yeah,
know, that all they know is that she was eating rotten vegetables. I
yeah,
think that's true.
I think so.
And yet it's weird to me that they have that scene and they have this whole thing play out, and like there's not even an indication that Fatima is concerned about the fact that she was eating like it's
Yeah,
it's it's played like that didn't even happen. It's played
yeah,
like
but
the
they
only
played it in the previously on.
they did, and that's weird to
I thought it
me.
was weird because I also think that it seems like the writers want to just ignore that ever happened.
Yeah. It's like they just want to move on from that and never acknowledge it. And it's like, if they knew that she did that, you would think they would react more strongly.
And if they wanted to really do something with that, then they could have reworked this final scene and had her lick Tilly's blood
Yeah, totally.
and
Totally. And that's not what
let somebody walk
happens.
in on that.
Yeah, yeah, there was total opportunity for that and they don't do it. And so it's like, yeah, did they fuck up? Like, I don't understand what happened there. It's weird. But it's just
Yeah, I don't think she told
I don't
anybody
think she
about the
told anybody
blood.
either, but I feel like what I want is some acknowledgement that she knows she's hiding this thing from them, while at the same time, she's like, you don't believe me. There's something, you know what I mean? You think this is all in my head. And it's like, I wouldn't, but she's sitting on eating rotten vegetables as the thing. And it's
Yeah, but
like,
I don't think her eating blood would necessarily make it any more plausible that it's all, that it's not all in her head.
maybe not, but it feels to me like it's at least somewhat more extreme. And
It is definitely more
the fact
extreme.
that she has a craving for something like that because it's on a different level. So I don't know. uh, they might still think it's in her head, but like it to me it indicates something more serious in her head than like what would make her eat rotten vegetables. So I want to see her bothered that she's not telling them about this if she isn't. But it just feels like they're not even acknowledging it, even though like you
Yeah.
said they showed it in the previously on.
Yeah.
Again, showing it in the previously on, but not really explaining that no one knows that she did that. So it's like, and then they talk in the episode about, like, oh, you need to eat some regular food or whatever. And like, we'll hook you up to this IV and they sell this stuff. And it's like, but they're just dancing around that she did, I don't know. It just bothers me. So I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Noted.
All right. Well, anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna jump right
Let's
into
do
it. Are you
it.
ready for this first
I'm
scene? Because we're
ready.
we're we're getting right on that train that I left off on. Christy asks Fatima how long, quote, these cravings have been going on for, right? This is a
Mhm.
perfect example.
Yeah.
These cravings. These cravings for what, Christy? Please do explain. What do you know? What do you know? Why don't
Oh
you
my
say? Why are you
god. Oh
so
my.
cagey?
Come on, man. You
I'm
gotta
sorry, it
know.
just bothers me. Anyway, she says about a week. Christy thinks maybe it's a psychosomatic pregnancy. Fatima's not hearing it. They try to reassure her. Marielle, Boyd, and Ellis are also there. Ellis tries to give her water and she throws the glass, breaking it, and walks out. Ellis follows. Marielle says she will stay at Colony House to administer the IV. Christy tells Boyd that he should have told her about Fatima before. I guess the cravings is what she's referring to.
Yeah.
Um, she didn't specify, so that's the only thing he knew about. I think that she was like, "Don't tell her until we have to," or whatever. So that's what he did.
Yeah, and I guess that that she wasn't eating ordinary food also, because that's another key
Well, I'm
piece of
sorry. That's
this.
what I thought these cravings meant.
It's not what I'm trying to distinguish is it isn't just that she's eating rotten vegetables, but also that she isn't eating ordinary food
Oh, okay,
either.
okay,
So
yeah,
that is nutritionally alarming.
sure, sure, sure.
Um, Even if she's not eating rotten stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
When I saw this, I was just like, what would you have done differently? But, the timeline was so off. She had that whole bear trap thing.
Hmm.
And, uh, but yeah, I mean, it's
Well, I thought she
also,
just meant when they came in. You know,
I don't know what she meant.
I thought she meant
I don't
like
know why
before I
she
did the
thinks that,
ultrasound, you should have told me
yeah, but I
everything.
don't understand why that would have mattered.
I agree, but like
That
I
was
just think
my thing
that's
when I
what
saw
she's
that scene. I
saying.
was like, it just felt like it was manufacturing conflict because, like, an actual doctor, which remember, she's not,
Yeah.
she's like, I'm the doctor. I'm like, you're the little D doctor in this place.
She got a field
The way
promotion,
that,
okay?
right. And it's like, that's fine. But, HIPAA laws being, all, I guess maybe they don't apply when you're
I don't
in
think they do.
purgatory,
I don't think they're paying
but
attention to HIPAA.
like I just don't think, and I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think it's appropriate to guilt trip somebody for not divulging something about someone else's medical condition.
I agree that she shouldn't berate Boyd about that. Specifically, it's weird. but I understand her being frustrated about not knowing the full extent of what was happening with a patient. Like, I think that's reasonable on a
Yeah.
basic level, even if it wouldn't. It's like, like I need to know if I'm gonna have a chance of figuring out what's going on. I need to know everything that's going on. Like, to me, that doesn't
Yeah,
seem
but then
unreasonable.
she's just like, I don't know. I don't know how to help
Yeah,
her. I
I
got
know,
nothing. It's like, well, you got nothing anyway.
I know,
So
I know, I know.
this didn't help anything.
Yeah, fair enough. It didn't, but just the basic idea of this doesn't seem unreasonable to me. But specifically, who she's asking, and obviously, like the
I mean, he
practical.
should be pissed at Ella. She should be pissed at Ellis.
Yeah, I agree. I
It's
agree.
like Boyd just found out just now,
Yeah,
and then brought them here. You
yeah.
know,
It's weird. It's weird to make it like Boyd's problem. Like he's got.
it's just like manufactured conflict. That's why it
Yeah,
bothers
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I'm just saying, like the idea that she would want to know makes sense to me. Like
Of course.
specifically who she's. Yeah, like you're right. Anyway. Okay. Boyd wants Christy to do something. She doesn't know what to do. Boyd says, "Do your fucking job and figure it out." And then he walks out in the rain, and we go to
Yeah,
credits.
this episode is all about people getting pissed at each other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Boyd was pretty hostile this episode in general. Maybe a little more so than usual.
Yeah, yeah.
But on the other hand, like
He's dealing with a
this
lot.
this situation he is personally implicated in, so there's that. And then obviously the thing with the Copsta is also like a personal thing for him, since he considers this his job to oversee the safety of everyone and so on. So
Yeah.
I think that's why he's kind of overreacting or being overly
There
hostile.
is also this implication later in the scene with Donna that maybe he is uh well, Donna references his wife's
Yeah,
um
breakdown.
yeah, breakdown, and we are perhaps invited to think that part of his hostility is that he's also remembering that
Yeah.
and feeling stressed about losing control of a situation that could become very
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And guilt about the fact that this happened before and he didn't really
Yeah.
pay enough attention, and,
Yeah.
tragedies happened as a
Yeah,
result.
yeah. And since we're talking about this, I will just go ahead and take this because this was the thought that occurred to me earlier was if um in this episode, Donna references this fear that I did not come up with on my own. When she said it, I was like, wow, that is connecting a lot of dots of the possibility that Fatima, like the place getting to Fatima, might manifest in her acting out in a publicly violent way. Like,
Yeah.
um, like what's her name did? What's her name?
Abby.
Abby.
Yeah.
Um, and in this episode, we have a copsta trying to get her gun back. She's acting unhinged. The
Yeah.
place is, potentially going to get to her. Are we cruising toward that happening?
Mm-hmm.
It seems maybe a little too on the nose, but
Yes.
when you started saying something you said earlier made me think like, oh, what if they're working toward that?
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow,
I have a different idea about
yeah,
that, but I will save that for
right.
later. But I think it's a valid point, and I also think that Donna line was foreshadowing, among other foreshadowing lines in the episode. Um, but I also, yeah, I thought it was a valid point. And obviously it's proven correct. It's sort of similar to the whole thing with like Boyd trying to tell everyone like, no, don't go in that tree. You don't know what's gonna happen, and then someone does it, and
Yeah.
it's like in a way it's rigged by the writers. They know where they're going, and so they can,
Yeah, yeah. But
have.
maybe the island was just sick of listening to what is his name? Why am I forgetting everybody's
Dale?
name? Dale. Why
Yeah.
am I forgetting everybody's names all of a sudden? Yeah. The island was just sick of Dale. Like anybody else could have gone through that tree and ended up in a perfectly
Yeah,
fine
yeah, yeah,
place. It's like I can't stand
Ugh,
that smug
yeah.
piece of shit.
Gross ass Dale. I'm spitting you out in the swimming pool. All right.
Anyway,
So you ready for
yeah.
the
Que
next one?
sera, sera,
Que sera,
etc.
sera, etc., etc. And then we go to we open up on Victor yelling at Jasper to talk to no effect. Henry has to come in. Victor lets him in. Henry says he's been up all night yelling at Jasper.
What is yeah.
Which I'm just like, oh my
Yikes.
god, that's so unhealthy.
He's
But
like, I'm
anyway.
not scared. Talk. And I'm like, I am scared. Don't talk.
Victor is frustrated. Henry is skeptical. Victor says, "You weren't there." I guess meaning when Jasper talked before.
Hmm.
And then Victor storms out Victor style because he's such a stormer outer. It's like that's such a class. He does this all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh boy. But I was, of course, secretly hoping that he was gonna go to Sarah because
Yeah.
that's what
That
I
was your
was wanting
prediction.
from last week. So
Yep.
anyway, we will pick up with both of these elements later. Okay. So then Tilly asks Elgin about, I guess, a mobile that he's making. Is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah. My interpretation was it's one of those things you hang above a crib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah, that's a
Yeah. It's a
mobile,
mobile.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you
It's a
call it?
mobile.
Okay. So he asks about a mobile he's making for Fatima. Tilly is sure she'll love it. Thanks, Tilly.
Why
Elgin's
wouldn't she?
yeah, I know. It's like, do you know anything that oh well, whatever.
They're not watching.
Elgin smiles and hangs it up, and at the same time, the Polaroid camera that is sitting nearby snaps a picture of its own accord, or was it a ghost finger? Who knows? But anyway,
Uh,
Elgin goes to look at the picture and he holds it up, and we cut right there. We don't see what it is right at this time.
I see them trying to wait, to make the viewer wait. And, A for effort, but you had to wait a lot longer than that for a Polaroid. I say had to. They still exist. You have to wait a lot longer than that.
Oh, yeah,
Like the
yeah.
camera today, we don't have the patience for that. We're not going to watch that whole scene.
Definitely not. Yeah. Yeah,
But at least he doesn't shake it.
I've seen some sped up Polaroid development shots in movies and stuff before, but I think they speed it up so that
Yeah.
so we cut to the chase a little faster.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like they want us it's okay. They want us to yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This is not interesting, but it's just something that I notice,
Yeah.
photography stuff, like how things when you see movies and TV shows that show like wet dark rooms or Polaroids, I'm always like paying attention for how they accord to my memory of those things.
Yeah. How inaccurate they are.
Correct.
All right. So obviously we'll come back to that as well as Tilly going forward. But yeah, the haunted Polaroid is definitely it's funny how they
As soon as
introduce
it
it.
showed up, I was like, we were so sure something was going to happen in that first scene.
I know. I mean, that's what I think is weird about it. That like they when they introduce it,
They're just
nothing
messing
actually
with our
happens.
expectations. But we did get something with a Polaroid in the last
We did.
episode.
We did.
And then now this one. I do want somebody to look over the shoulder and look at that Polaroid and see. Because in the last episode when there was the thing with the Polaroid, when he looks back, it wasn't there.
It almost seemed like it was just a vision,
Yeah.
but this time, like the Polaroid was sort of confirmed. But I agree. Like, does anyone else see it, or is he just seeing it? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what we're supposed to think about that. It is also notable, at least to me, that the previous Polaroid was Fatima coming down the stairs, and that's what it showed.
Uh-huh.
But then Kimono Lady appears.
Yeah.
This time it's a picture of the root
Something that's
cellar
not there
hatch.
at all.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how far away, but it's certainly nowhere near where the camera was.
Yeah, is it really a root cellar? And if so, I mean, a root cellar should be near a home.
That's what the
Yeah.
From Wiki called it. So I'm just calling it that because I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah,
But
fine.
yeah, is it really a root cellar? I don't know.
What is that bucket of rotten beets still down there? Like nobody else has gone into the.
Compost.
That's not how you don't. Well, okay.
I'm just saying they said that.
I know they said that, but they have a compost pile. She pulled them out of the compost pile, put them in a bucket, took them in the greenhouse. Nobody's been in the greenhouse and been like, why is there this bucket of rotten beets? Like, why doesn't she put it somewhere safe?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Fair point.
like the like her bedroom. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, they might be stanky.
Oh, I don't think she's gonna mind.
Well, she won't mind, but Ellis might.
She's just running a risk, you know? Somebody might go, "Oh, this is weird. This pail of rotten
Yeah.
vegetables didn't make it to the." Also, they just have anyway, let's go ahead.
But I could
What I'm
imagine
saying has no
maybe they
significance.
use some of it in the
No, that's not
greenhouse.
no, you have to let it break down first.
Okay.
You can't just put a rotten
But maybe
vegetable
they're
on
being
top of it.
inaccurate, you know? Maybe they're, you know?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just trying. I'm
No.
just trying over
Stop
here.
trying.
Okay. All
Give
right.
up.
All right, I give up. Okay. Ready for the
I'm
next?
ready,
Okay.
baby.
Marielle hooks up Fatima's IV and says she's lucky the ambulance came. Fatima's not hearing it, which is the right
This
theme.
yeah, this is
Um,
that should be the name of the episode. Fatima's
Fatima's
not
not
hearing
hearing
it.
it. Yeah. Marielle tries to commiserate because of her trans experience and the aftermath, but Fatima thinks it's different. Then she says, and this is to me where I thought they came the closest to saying exactly what the knowledge level is here, because she says, I'm not eating garbage because I'm afraid or broken.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not eating garbage, right? That's the line. And so to me, like that means that's all they know, I think. Anyway,
Look, a human corpse is waste, you know.
yes, that's a fair point.
I am joking.
But I
That is a
also
joke.
disagree. Okay. She says, I'm not eating garbage because I'm afraid or broken. It's making me. It's making me. That's what she says. It's we're almost back in that weird season two, like Sarah place where she's like, it won't stop and it's gonna do this and it when it whatever it like
Yeah.
it's like all this like it stuff where it's like what is it, what are you talking about? I mean, I think she's just talking about like whatever it is doing this to her and she doesn't know what it is, so she's just
Yeah.
like it, I
And I
don't
mean,
know.
she already was worried that there was something wrong with the baby, that there's
Yeah.
something out. Like she already had these fears that whatever is she feels growing inside of her is not an ordinary baby.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I think I just want to like throw that out as an, and I know you know this already, but just so the listener knows that we know, um, all of what she's doing that seems irrational or frustrating is because she is extremely worried uh about what's happening to her in a way that is like beyond the comprehension of somebody who lives in an ordinary reality.
Yeah.
You know, and they allude to that in the earlier scene. They're like, we're not saying that you're crazy. We're not even saying that nothing's growing inside you. Like, look at this thing that happened with Boyd. And
Yeah.
yeah, we thought he was hallucinating that, but there was obviously something there.
Yeah.
So nobody understands the reality of this place. And it's putting you in a panicked state because something menacing could be growing inside of you. Like outside of this place, like in this reality that I am in, the most logical explanation would be like a psychosomatic
Hmm.
pregnancy or some kind of a tumor. Um, but yeah, I forget why I brought this up. But just to say like it's not that it's not that the writers are necessarily frustrating, but that she's behaving in a way that is informed by an intense level of fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't actually think
But something's going on because
100% something's going on.
she vomits up this IV,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So unless Marielle is poisoning her, which I did have a crackpot theory in an earlier episode that Marielle is some kind of sinister inside
Mhm.
agent. I don't know what that means. It's been a while since we got anything that indicated like an outside. Well, I guess the Thomas phone call could be read as like an outside force, but I don't know. Less so than the like radio tower thing. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead. Interrupt me.
I think there's tons of outside forces. So I'm not
But when's the
skeptical of
last
the outside
time that we
forces.
had an indication of like some puppet master, you know,
And
holds
that's the
some
whole plot of
strings.
season two, you know?
Yeah, so that's
It's
but
game.
that's what I'm saying, like, you have to go back to season 2 to find that.
Oh, that they haven't done that this
Yeah,
season?
that
Yeah.
well, that it's been a little
Not yet,
while.
but really, like the clarity on what that was all about, it doesn't come until pretty late in the season. I feel like we're reaching that point now, and it's possible they'll tell us now. But I agree that like up till now they haven't, but I think that was true in season two as well. So anyway, I'm just saying
Yeah,
could be coming.
I'm not reading
They
anything
revisit the
into it.
dungeon. And yeah, we have this thing. We have Kimono Lady that definitely seems like an outside force. We have the Cabin Thumper that seems like an outside force.
That's not the kind of outside source I mean. I mean, like, um, this idea that, um, like, there might be, like, human agents overseeing this whole situation, like it's some kind of a psychological experiment or something.
Oh yeah,
Which, you know, which I don't believe,
I don't
but
believe that
there
either.
is, like, uh, um, um, uh oh my god, the, like, idiot husband.
Jim.
Jim, thank you. I don't remember anyone's names.
Yeah,
Jim,
just describe them all
you know,
just for
Jim
the
being
name.
like,
I instantly knew you.
well, like, so when Jade arrives, his first thought is that it's some kind of, like, a high dollar escape room,
Yeah, like the game
like the
kind of
game,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then Jim has this conspiracy theory of, like, oh, we're being watched. We're like, you know, lab rats in an
yeah.
experiment
Blind
or
Randall.
something.
Yeah,
Oh, and then yeah, invites Randall into it.
yeah,
Um, and so because it's been said by characters, I don't necessarily think it's true, but there are some things that kind of make it seem possible in a way that, like, the idea that there's a place there that mimics nightmares that one of the people used to have, that couldn't be manufactured by some, like,
yeah,
human overseers, like,
yeah,
fucking with them.
yeah.
Or like the fact that Sarah's brother was deathly afraid of cicadas.
Right,
Like,
right.
that couldn't have been done by people monitoring them.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Anyhow.
yeah. Yeah, I find it pretty at this point, I find it pretty hard to believe that it's normal humans
Yeah.
watching them. But I do think there's forces that are watching them
There
because
are
I feel
definitely
like
forces watching them.
there's many indications that including like the monsters knowing their
Yeah,
names
the
and stuff.
environment is certainly responsive in an uncanny way where creatures know things that they shouldn't. Responsive phenomena happen
Yeah.
in a way that could not be coincidence or really shouldn't be
Yeah.
coincidence. I also think when we get to the end of this show, not all of these things are going to be explained. Like,
I
there's going
100%
to be a
agree.
ton of things that just don't really fit with the explanations that we're given.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that is just that's that.
I think you're definitely right about that, but I think that's probably true of every mystery show ever. So it's, what are you gonna do? Yeah, just hopefully it works as well as it can. But yeah, there's
Yeah,
definitely gonna be some details left on the floor. It feels like they've done some of that already. So I think there's
indeed.
probably more of that to come. Um, okay. Yeah, so sorry. Where we left off, right. I'm not eating garbage because I'm afraid they're broken. It's making me. Ellis comes in, breaking the tension, and Marielle leaves. Fatima's frustrated that no one believes her. Oh, I was gonna say, I'll talk about this in a second. Ellis tries to reassure her that they're just trying to help. Fatima asks if he thinks it's all in her head, and he brings up the sheriff station breakdown. I don't know if you remember that, but that was a thing that happens in season two, um, uh, where monsters are there, and she's like, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," and the way they played it at the time, at least I thought the implication was she's breaking down because she knows she's pregnant and she's like, I don't want to deal with being pregnant here. This is a nightmare. Like, I can't deal with this. Like, I thought that's what because they hadn't revealed it yet at that point
Oh.
when she has to break down the sheriff's station. Then later she asks for the pregnancy test, and she has that scene with Donna, that they replayed in the previously on and all that. And I thought it became clear that her anxieties were
Oh.
the reason why she broke down is because she was like, I think I'm pregnant and I do not want to deal with being pregnant here. That is a nightmare. Like, I thought that was the point, but it seems to me like they're trying to like reframe it here and suggest that maybe the break was what caused all this to happen. Like, it
Oh,
seems to me
interesting.
like that's, I don't, well, I shouldn't say I don't necessarily. I do not think that that's the whole story. I
Right.
do not think this is all in her head. There's plenty of evidence to me that this is not at all in her head.
So he's saying, so you're saying that he's saying in the scene, ever since that night that we had to spend in the sheriff's office and she like screamed at that monster through
Yeah,
the door,
yeah,
that was this major turning point for her, that
yeah,
prior to that she'd been like cool as a cucumber,
yeah.
and they'd been up in Colony House. I mean, that just it speaks to this thing that I think I alluded to a couple of episodes ago of like, what was there one specific turning point, and the fall of Colony House being, a major catalyst
Hmm.
of this sequence of horrible things. The Lemony Snicket's perverted like series of unfortunate events. Um the that scene is interesting with her. It's one of those, like the diner scene when she's antagonizing um
Tabitha.
thank you,
Yeah.
where it's just like, this seems really out of character for you. Um, so you're saying that you think in this episode, Ellis is trying to say like that was a sign of the pregnancy making you unhinged?
No. What I'm saying is that I think at the time in season two, if you watch it develop, the way we are invited to read it as the audience is that she was breaking down because she thought she might be pregnant. I think what
I
Ellis is
see.
actually saying here is that
You're losing it.
you
You
broke
were
down,
losing it.
you were
Yeah,
breaking
yeah, yeah,
down,
yeah.
and this is continuing that.
This is like a manifestation of
Yeah,
your, yeah, okay.
I think that's
Okay.
what he's saying here.
Well, that's just what every woman wants to hear from her partner.
Well,
Um,
fair enough. I'm gonna say something about that in a second. I'll just get to the end here. Yeah, he brings up the sheriff's station breakdown. Fatima says this is unrelated. She pulls out the IV and says she's been measuring her stomach and it's getting bigger, and her cravings are getting stronger, and she's angry all the time. She says if the baby isn't real, then it's she.
mhm.
Sorry, I just had to use the grammar there. Um,
I know you love grammar.
I'm really into grammar. Um, yeah, so it's just like something internal, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Which to me, like, it's to me there's enough stuff that I just can't see a purely psychological condition causing. It was one thing when Abby took a gun and started shooting people. That is a thing that people do sometimes. what
Right.
what Fatima's going
Well,
through,
the thing, yeah.
it's hard for me to believe that any psychological condition would lead to this. So,
I don't know about that. I mean, I think the whole idea of a psychosomatic pregnancy is that it can manifest physical changes in the body.
but make you like eat rotten vegetables and blood and stuff, like, and
I
make
don't
you
know.
like
I mean,
make
I
your
don't think it's all
stomach
in her head.
grow
I don't,
and
yeah, it can make your stomach grow.
okay.
I'm not in, yeah, I'm no psychologist. I also don't think it's all in her head, but I do think that it could be. Like, I don't think we've seen enough to say that it's not possible that it's all in her head.
If the IV reaction was real, which I'm not 100% clear on, then that would be another thing that I think
Yeah,
suggests
it is
there's
a
something
weird, like,
objective going
why
on.
would, I mean, stress could make you vomit.
Yeah.
Um, but it is, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do think, like I said, I do think that we're gonna find out there's something wrong with her. Because it's not interesting. If it's just in her head, that's not interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would also query, is Randall's cicada situation only in his head?
Hmm.
Like, there's a lot of stuff happening on this show where, I mean, is the kimono lady only in Elgin's head?
In the case of Randall, the scene where he's trying to run from the monsters and the cicadas come up behind him, like that's the only scene where I feel like it doesn't seem like they're in his head. It feels like they're actually in service to the place. In general, like
But nobody else sees them
yeah.
in that scene. No one else
But
sees them.
I think, well, so like Jade's visions, you know, no one else was seeing, the kids that Tabitha
Yeah.
was seeing, no
Well,
one else
see,
was
maybe
seeing them.
maybe the point is that the show just kind of erodes the construct of what does it mean for something to be in your head,
Yeah.
because dreams are in your head, and here we are with Tabitha visiting the scene of a recurring
This
childhood
place
nightmare.
seems to send dreams.
Yeah.
It has, that isn't the only
So
dream that is sent, I think.
I agree.
So,
So that is possibly happening with Elgin too. I mean, that was his whole introduction.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe that's the takeaway here.
Yeah, so I agree that it's there's nothing like 100% definitive here. But I think there's enough, at least for me, to believe that there's something going on that's yeah, just beyond a psychological condition. Um but I think that the reference point here is Rosemary's Baby. Like
Yeah.
that's the exact dynamic of the drama in Rosemary's Baby.
I mean, if the reference is Rosemary's Baby, then again, I raise my suspicions about Marielle.
If the reference is Rosemary's Baby, then you should also be suspicious of Ellis.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily think they're going to implicate Ellis in this. That feels too far to me. But I think Marielle is open for that. I like more so, at least in my head.
Oh my God, if they're in
Um,
cahoots, then they'll be Mary Ellis. Also, I wanted to say this earlier, but this is the Plotima.
this is the Plotima. You're right. But yeah, I think yeah, it's so like yeah, the stomach thing cannot be psychosomatic. It's still physical, it's something. Um and yeah, the craving's getting stronger, like that's notable. And she's angry all the time. I feel like that's also like foreshadowing, what's gonna happen at the end, that it's like this like flash of anger that she immediately
You're like,
regrets.
"Oh, honey, that's just life in 2024." What year is it supposed to be?
I think it's supposed to be, well,
Like, it's like
actually,
2022.
I
That's
think
what
what it
it,
is the year the show
it's the
started,
year
because it's
start.
only been
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
Uh,
What the fuck?
yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy to think about how little time. They actually said
Ethan
like
has grown so much.
there was
Kids just grow so fast.
yeah, it must be the place. I don't know. Maybe yeah, we'll see what they do with
Yeah.
that. But yeah, there was a reference to like how long it had been.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like a week or something. And I think
Yeah.
that was since last season. So anyway, obviously we'll come back to that. I don't For the record, I don't really suspect Marielle or Ellis. I feel like this is a thing that is happening to her from the outside, much like, that's what I was trying to say about the visions with Jade and with Tabitha and so on. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of examples of the place targeting specific individuals with things that other people can't perceive or like
Yeah.
fully appreciate, and yeah, that is part of the way that it breaks people down,
Yeah.
and it's definitely happening in this case. So that's what I'm inclined to believe. I don't know the full contours of who's doing it and why, but
Yeah.
I that's my sense of this plot. It's just hard for me to believe that this is entirely a psychological thing. Because it just seems too weird to me for that. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see.
We'll
All right.
see.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So Donna and Boyd chat walking down the road. Donna regrets telling Fatima that her pregnancy was a miracle. Boyd lays out that it's either something like the worms or psychological. Like Abby, as Donna points out, meaning psychological, I think. Um, Donna wants to figure out a way to bring her back, meaning Fatima. Boyd wants to keep it between us. And Donna says, then what? And Boyd doesn't know. Donna doesn't want them to stay at Colony House, meaning Alice and Fatima. Boyd is surprised. Donna points out that both possibilities are a threat, which is totally valid, I think, and proven correct by the end. Boyd mentions making space at the sheriff's station, but Donna says, oh, there's no big rush, but she had to bring it up. But maybe there should have been a big rush, Donna. Anyway, Boyd admits that she's not wrong and leaves. Then he's not actually angry at Donna. So this isn't a fight scene, even though it feels like
It's
it
not,
should
yeah,
be.
no. It's a little tense, but it's not a fight. I mean,
Yeah,
he seems to realize that she's being um
pragmatic.
pragmatic.
It's like, yeah, like, from what we know, like there's reason to
This could be
think like this could
dangerous.
escalate, and
Mhm.
yeah, like I said, gonna be true. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jim's back, y'all.
Oh
I know you are ready
God.
for more of that Jim. Give me that Jim. All right.
Am I wrong about everything that I said about Jim just continues to be true?
I feel like he was marginally more reasonable in this episode, but I generally agree.
In the later scene where he doesn't say
Yeah.
anything.
Well, yeah, he's so reasonable when he just shuts up. No, I'll tell you the point where I thought that
Okay.
when we get there. Okay, so Jim throws a cabbage to a red shirt. They're out at the cabins. We established that he was
Yeah.
there in the previous episode. I meant to mention this. Like, I had this thought off the podcast where I was like, oh, at the end, I should have said this on the previous podcast that like at the end of the last episode, Tabitha reveals that she dreamed about that cabin area when she was a child, and Jim's there, and I thought like, oh, they have to do something with that. Like, there's no way they're either Jim's gonna see something there, bring it back, or she's gonna go out there. Like, I thought like something like that had to happen. Anyway, I'm like, damn, I wish I had said that because I didn't. Anyway, so I want credit for predicting a thing that you never heard me predict.
I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah, I don't
If
deserve
it
it.
wasn't on the podcast, it didn't happen.
Yeah, I agree 100%, obviously. All right. So, one of the red shirts mentions the cabin thumper that comes at night.
Yep.
And that it didn't sound like the monsters. I don't know how you fucking know that, but anyway, that's what they say, so I think we're supposed to believe it. Then Tabitha, Ethan, and Jade arrive. Ethan reveals that
I
Tabitha,
do love the look of surprised bewilderment on uh Jim's face when he sees them show up.
yeah,
Like I just love that. Like what
yeah.
what?
Ethan reveals that Tabitha dreamt about this place as a child, quote, just like Victor's mom. I have a objection to that later. Jim waves away the red shirts and the red
Yeah,
shirts
yeah, yeah.
leave.
Victor's mom didn't dream about this place as a
All right, well, that was my objection. She didn't dream about it at all. It happened in a drug-induced vision. Like, I don't know. What did they tell you, Ethan?
Yeah,
Anyway.
Tabitha spent her childhood dropping acid.
It's like obviously there's a parallel between Miranda and Tabitha. They're making that 100% clear. So I like the general point is
I hadn't
right.
noticed.
It
It was
just
so subtle.
it's just the specific way he phrased it. I'm like, no, well, it's not just like that's not right.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jim waves away the red shirts, they leave, and the rest of them go into the cabin area. Okay, so yeah, the other comment I wanted to make is, yeah, this the cabin thumper thing is another thing that they kind of punt on, that I think we'll get more of the season. I'm still convinced we'll get more of the season, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just feel like it's crazy to build it up from so early and to
Yeah.
repeat and to say it again, and then like
Yeah.
it's just like, come on, give me something here. I feel like we're getting something,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
We'll see.
Okay. Um, ready for the next thing? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That
So
was kind of a transition. So.
yeah, we're coming back to that. Julie arrives at the infirmary. She's going to be staying there while her parents are away because the house is creepy or whatever.
It is.
Just as Randall is leaving. Randall's going for a walk, and Julie gently insists on joining him. And
Yeah,
then,
it's just a funny scene. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't have anything to say about this except that it's a funny, yeah, it's a funny scene.
it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of, yeah, like
It's very high school, like,
classic, yeah, classic high school drama
yeah, you
scene
see, yeah,
or high school
exactly.
comedy
Like
even.
that too cool for school guy, and
Yeah.
like the girl who sees right through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Can I
Great, I'll be
come?
right.
No. All right,
Great,
I'll
I'll be
get my
right back.
stuff. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it's charming. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
So Elgin holds up the Polaroid picture of the root cellar hatch, as I
Yep.
discussed earlier, in front of the actual hatch.
Yep.
And I'm just going to mention some stuff I read because I opened up the wiki on this.
Okay.
I just want to summarize all of the instances where we've
All of
seen
it.
this place. It's quite
Oh
a
yeah,
few.
please do. So yeah, I was when I saw this, I was like, is this the same place as that place? Is that the same place as this place?
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us the
I believe the
answers.
answer is yes. So this is the same one that Victor hid in as a child, right? His Miranda
Yep.
brought him there. Jade saw, and his sister, who's also a dangling thread. Anyway, Jade saw the guy in the armoire. That's what they described this thing that's sitting in
Yeah,
front of the
that's an I
door. They
would call that
described
an
it as an
armoire. Yeah.
armoire. So Jade saw
Mhm.
the guy in the armoire there.
Sorry, it's an armoire.
Armoire. Yeah, I don't know. Can you appreciate armoire? Anyway, Jade also brings Kenny there to say, Kenny's
Yeah.
like, yeah, whatever, there's weird shit, deal with it.
Yeah.
Kind of similarly to what he does later with Acopsta. Anyway,
Yep.
um
And
uh
he's not wrong.
Julie and Victor were taken there by a faraway tree after the attack on Colony House.
Right.
I had forgotten about that, but they were there.
I had also forgotten about that.
Um And Boyd sees the ballerina come out of that hatch in a vision.
Oh
When he's having
yeah.
those ballerina visions in season 2 with the words and
Yeah, I
stuff.
forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. So that's basically all the
Man, that
appearances.
root cellars had
Yeah.
some action.
The root cellar is a fundamental location for this show, clearly, and
Yeah.
we're about to get some more on it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to mention that
Thank
just
you.
because we're revisiting that place. So Elgin opens it and goes inside. He opens so there's actually a door into the place where the armoire is that's covering another door. So
Uh-huh.
anyway,
How many? Yeah, the doors just go on
I found
and
this
on.
the way they filmed it when Jade went there, like I found it very confusing, and I think this clarified what was going on there. I thought the armoire was the other door, but it's actually like blocking another door. But of course, it has its own doors. So
Well, you know what they say. Every armoire is a door to another armoire.
do they really say that?
Yeah, didn't you hear that growing up?
I did not, or maybe I forgot. I don't know. Um. Right. Elgin opens the armoire. There's nothing in there. He closes it, starts to walk out when he hears a knock from behind the armoire. I guess I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
when I heard that knocking, I was like, "That's weird." Like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. Like, he opens the armoire and it's empty, and then he hears this knocking. He
Yeah,
opens it again.
yeah.
There's something in there,
That's
but
not what
no, somehow
happens.
he knows that that's not
That
what it
that's not where the knocking
is.
was from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. So he finally pushes the armoire aside and reveals a door, another door. He opens the door, and we see that there's some kind of like makeshift bedroom set up in there.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to that.
It's a great hiding place if you live in a place that has nocturnal
I would
monsters.
agree, but my question would be,
Yeah, somebody had to push the
you
armoire in
can't do
front of
that from
there.
the inside.
Correct. So,
So
yeah, did somebody push the armoire in front of there and then the person inside
those
died?
chimes, yeah,
Like, did they not know? Did they do it on purpose?
it raises questions for sure.
Yeah. And then I mean the biggest question is whose body is that?
And whose body is that? Which is definitely a question. And yeah, I'll probably say a few more things about it when we get to the next scene that escalates this a little bit.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Um, okay. So Akopsta looks at a grave, which I guess is Nikki's. I feel like that's the implication.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think it's funny that maybe it's not. It's just some random other person.
He thinks it's Nikki's, but it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
because it's not marked or anything.
right.
So it is fresh. But anyway. Um, Kenny stands in the diner and he grabs some tea from the shelf and sniffs it. And then Akopsta comes in. I'm just calling her Akopsta. That's just her name now.
Yeah.
Sorry. Um, Kenny says that they don't serve food there anymore. Akopsta is asking questions about the place and wonders why no one is asking these questions. And Kenny says they did ask the questions and then offers her some tea. And we will come back to that as
I'm
well.
sure it's gonna go really well. It's gonna be tender.
Little bonding moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they used to tie people down when they showed up.
Yep.
So, come on, Akopsta.
Yeah.
You're getting off easy. Um, Ethan says the place is creepy, meaning the cabin area. We're back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Jade agrees. Ethan wonders who lived out there and what happened to them. Jay says maybe they went home. And also watch out for bear traps. Like, okay, very
Oh, Jade.
from like I don't even believe you believe that to like practical advice.
Uh-huh. When
Jim is skeptical of Tabitha again.
constantly.
She quote just wants so badly for this all to make sense. Tabitha insists that it wasn't just a random nightmare, it was recurring. She would wake up screaming. The totems are the same as in the dream. Um, Jim has no idea and mentions almost getting Donna killed and what happened with Sarah as well. Basically saying like, yeah, the stuff that we see and whatever could just have bad. I think that's his implication. Like there could be
Yeah, yeah.
some negative consequence. Tabitha points out that that was all after they arrived on the island, as we call it sometimes. But she had the dream before. And one way or another, she needs to know what's going on. And Jim says, okay, this is the
That's the
moment.
moment.
This is the moment.
That's his moment of rationality.
This is the
Yeah, I mean,
moment.
it's
He actually
completely
is like, okay, and he accepts it. And the rest of the
good.
episode, he
Yeah.
doesn't really put up a fight.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm giving him credit for that. That's all I'm
I'll give
saying.
him credit for that. I mean, it is natural for someone to be nervous. And I think it is reasonable to say, yeah, a lot of crazy shit happens and it may just be this place fucking with us. And but yeah, he's just the irritating thing with him is that he expects everybody to go along with his whims. When he comes up with an idea, he thinks it's great, you know. Um
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
yeah.
Um, I also feel like the Thomas stuff is like hovering in the background here, but they also don't really acknowledge it. I don't know. It's weird that Ethan even knows about it, and like I'm not sure if Tabitha does.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, that's just because it feels like that's something he could have brought up but
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Um, Oddly. Okay, so we will also come back to that.
Yes.
Um, all right. Julie tells Randall about the Ankui kids
Uh-huh.
and about Jim's problems, mentioning Randall tying down to a tree.
Yep.
Um, Randall is looking for some kind of mushroom. At least that's what he claims. I
Yeah.
assume it's true. It seems semi-plausible that they want him to forage, since he's staying at the infirmary.
Uh-huh.
Um, Julie asks where he was going on the bus,
Yeah.
meaning he dodges it. He just tells some bullshit lie. Julie, so like, are we gonna learn that later? I don't know. It's weird they bring this up because I'm like, that's usually not even a big deal on this show, Like, where are you doing? Like it's like not even like if you had to, audience, and you, what were you, the set kimono lady? Um, uh, could you name what all the people were doing that are like main characters when they hit the tree? Like, I feel like I'd be hard pressed to do that with all the characters.
We haven't gotten all the we haven't gotten the explanation of all the
That's true.
characters.
But even the ones we know, like, where was Jade going, for example?
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
remember.
I
I
no.
feel like they might have
I
said
mean,
it.
they were, like, out celebrating the sale of his company,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't remember where he was going.
Yeah, I feel like they were doing something, and I don't remember what.
Well, we do hear, like, several of them we hear what they were doing, like Donna and her sister.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, no, I don't remember them all, no.
Yeah, 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 yeah. My point is just that like the show doesn't usually make such a big deal out of.
Yeah, but she's just, like, making conversation,
Fair
you
enough.
know.
Fair enough. It might not matter. I just thought I'd
You're
mention
walking
it.
through the woods with a boy you probably think is cute, like, how are you gonna make conversation?
Sure, sure, sure. Fair enough. Fair enough. Right. So Julie mentions never getting a learner's permit because of Thomas, and Randall says, "Come with me," and we'll pick up with that later. All right. Are you ready to?
I'm
Okay.
ready.
All right. So Kenny tries to explain to Akopsta what it's like being unable to accept the place, trying to figure it out, and then finally adapting to the place.
Yeah,
Akopsta is still not buying it. Kenny says he's heard it all before and he's been on her side of it, but she has to adapt or lose her mind.
right.
Kenny had to adapt because of his parents. Akopsta apologizes. Kenny asks about family. She says she doesn't really have any. Kenny mentions the talismans and how they had to hide before that, though he wasn't there at that time. Akopsta wonders where the talismans came from. Kenny tells her Boyd found them. Akopsta says that's why he thinks he's God King of the world.
Oh boy.
And complains about his taking her gun. Kenny mentions that there are fresh clothes at Colony House because she's
Love that. She's still walking around in her cop
yep,
uniform.
yep, yep. That was clearly the implication,
Uh-huh.
even though they don't say it. But Acosta doesn't want to get comfortable there. And then the jukebox cuts in with "Ooh Ooh Child" by
Things
Five
are
Star
gonna
Shift.
be
Things are gonna get
easier.
easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is again the
Ooh,
jukebox
child, things
trolling
will get
them.
brighter. Yeah,
You know
that's
that
quite
song? I
familiar.
wasn't
I
familiar with
do.
it.
I do. Yeah, they played
Um,
on the oldies station.
yeah, it
Putting
was.
it together and you got it all done. Anyway. Yeah, the jukebox trolling is whoo.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely there. Kenny says they do that sometimes, meaning the jukebox.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a notable version of this with Kenny celebration earlier in the
Yeah, yeah,
season.
that one was horrible.
That was way worse than
This
this.
one amused me.
Yeah, 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 definitely. But it's also another piece of evidence of what I was saying earlier that the place monitoring them and like
Yeah.
fucking with them specifically. And this is objective, like
Yeah,
they
the
both hear it.
jukebox is yes, you're right.
Um, Akopsta says thanks for the tea and leaves. And then Bhakta comes in at the same time, and she is interested in reopening the diner. So I guess that's a thing that they'll address later.
Yeah,
Since I guess the diner is currently inoperable or inoperated, unoperated, non-operated. Okay, I can't come up with the word, but you know what I mean.
closed.
Closed. Hey, that's easier. The diner is what do they call it? Not open, unopened, inopen.
They should have been a word
Um
for that.
all right. So yeah, obviously we'll pick up with Akopsta and her
Yeah.
breakdown later. Um okay.
Were you gonna
Um
say something about Akopsta or about Abby, or did you already say what you were gonna say?
oh, was I gonna say something about that? Um let me see.
I don't know.
Let me see.
I think you had something to say about Donna or Akopsta or something.
Hmm.
Maybe you said it though, and I just
Maybe I did and I can't remember, or maybe I'll remember
wow.
later, or maybe I'll forget. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Those are the
But I
options.
don't have it right now. Oh, I do want to say something about Akopsta in the later scene that she has with Boyd, so
Uh-huh.
I will
Okay.
resume.
All right.
Maybe that's what you're talking about.
Maybe, I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
Will we?
We won't because we'll just never
We'll
know.
just never know.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
All right. So Elgin puts the bed down. It was like up against the wall.
Yeah, there's a word for that.
Um,
Um,
yeah. Do you know that word?
I do,
Feels like
but
a
I'm
New
not.
York thing.
It
This kind of
is.
bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll think of it
It's a safe
later.
space.
Yeah.
So Elgin puts the bed down, and then he lifts up some kind of cloth. I don't know what to call it.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like a tarp, but it's made of cloth.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I feel like there's a word for this thing, but I couldn't come up with it.
Murphy bed.
Canvas? I don't know.
Tarp. It's like a canvas
Murphy
tarp.
bed.
Murphy
Yeah,
bed.
that's it. That's it. Okay, so he lifts up some kind of cloth and uncovers a corpse. And then the kimono lady is behind him, and Elgin says, "Is this really where it happens?"
What does it
And that's where we
mean?
leave that
What I know.
storyline.
This is probably the most mysterious thing in the whole
I have no
plot.
fucking clue what he's talking
What
about.
does he mean?
I have no idea what he means. Where what happens? Like
Is
what
this really where it
is this really where it happens?
happens?
Actually, okay, wait, hold on. Hold on. I just had an idea, but it makes no sense.
Ooh,
Oh
let's hear
man.
it.
Okay, so my idea was like, is this where like monsters are created?
Uh-huh.
But then I'm like, but there's a dead body in the corner, so it doesn't add up with that because you know.
Uh,
But that was my first thought. Was like, oh, maybe that's how monsters
yeah.
are formed.
I also want to know what was the situation in this place back when Miranda had her kids hiding here? And did they stay there more than that one night? You know, we see the flashback of the one night of
Mm-hmm.
Miranda having Victor and his sister stay down there, but did they go down there often? When they went down there, did they use that space with the Murphy bed?
Mm-hmm.
If we think about who that body might be, I had the crazy thought, what if it's Victor? And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But does it? What if it's Victor's dad? That doesn't make any sense. But does it? Is that Victor's sister? Like there I just don't like or
Mm.
like they never found the body of that guy um uh Christopher, right? Or did they find the body? We talked
Yeah,
about this. It was
yeah,
like inconclusive.
I'm confused
Um,
about that.
did someone end up getting Farcaster treed into that place after the armoire was put there, and that's why they died in there?
Mm.
That's why it was blocked off,
Could be.
as opposed to someone deliberately blocking someone into there.
Yeah.
Um, or is locking a monster in that room with an armoire the only way to kill them? That's a
Mhm.
terrible answer.
Is this really where
Is this
it
really where it
happens?
happens?
It's so confusing. Because also, like, it's worth pointing out that like Elgin, I mean, he just got there, relatively speaking. Like, he's not the newest person in town, but he's like on the top, whatever list, like with
Only
everyone who came on the
Acopsta's
bus.
newer.
Acosta and Henry.
Right.
They're the newest arrivals. But he's like right one level down from that. It hasn't been long, as they clearly established. So it's like, what is he even basing this on? It's just such a weird, and this is it. This is all we get. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. It definitely made it seem like the kimono lady was responsible for the Polaroid and leading him there and wants him to see something there. And, the other stuff she said, like, help me, I can help you leave. Is he saying something like, the only way to leave is to die? I don't know. Like, that doesn't make any sense either. I seriously got nothing on this, even though I think
I
this is
know.
a big mystery for the
It is,
season.
yeah, I agree. It's a big moment. It's a big mystery, but there's so little provided to us that, yeah, I don't know what to make
I
of it.
will say, there's this scene. Well, maybe I'll save it. Maybe I'll save it. So I have one more kimono lady thought, but I'm gonna save it till later.
Okay.
But I think we'll come back to this, and hopefully we'll understand what the hell he's talking about. Hopefully he'll say something to someone at some point. Well, I can only dream.
Yeah.
But yeah, very tantalizing and very
Very.
mysterious and very unresolved.
Yep.
Okay. So speaking of such scenes,
Hmm.
Victor has Jasper and bangs on Sarah's door. he wants to go into her basement so Jasper can tell him a secret, and
Yeah,
she
which I wish I should have thought of that.
lets him in. I know. I was like, oh yeah, they did establish that pretty clearly. That's a more obvious logic for why he would want to, go there. I mean, even though that's not the only basement, there is a basement in Colony House. They established that. But anyway, whatever. He went there before. They did a fort. He's gonna go there again. Maybe somehow, he said he was there back in the day too. So, it's like got some
Yeah, yeah.
particular
He used to go there with his
connection.
sister.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's some particular thing with that basement. So okay, fine. So again, Jasper and his story is something that we're gonna have to pick up with in the next one or sometime later this season. Hopefully the next one, but we'll see. I'm really curious, and I feel like, yeah, I feel like Sarah's thing has to come into play with that too, because it just feels like too much of a coincidence.
Yeah.
That she's got this like weird channeling thing, and then there's this like, creepy sentient
Right, right.
ventriloquist
I think
dummy.
you predicted that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was my predict, but it's just the way he phrased it is like it's
Yeah,
not even
like
really about
Jasper's gonna have to speak through her.
Sarah's thing. Yeah, that's what I was thinking was maybe gonna happen. So
Yeah.
I'm throwing that out there as a prediction. So you
Maybe the
can't
boy in
pretend like
white
I
will show
didn't
up.
predict it because it's on the podcast. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
What did you
Yeah,
say?
you predicted it last episode too, I think,
Yeah,
or
I
the one
did.
before.
I did.
I just said maybe the boy in white will show up. I don't really
Fucking
think
A.
that, but
Fucking
who
that boy in
knows?
white better show up before the end of the season. I'm gonna
Well,
get mad.
yeah.
I'm gonna get madder than
Yeah,
everybody on the
mad or
show.
mad.
Um all right. So are you
I am ready.
ready for the
I'm ready.
next scene?
I'm
Okay.
ready.
Um Okay, Julie says that the van is for emergencies. Randall says this is an emergency. Randall explains how to use a clutch, and we'll of course come back to that. I do think that in a fuel shortage environment, it is better to uh, have manual transmission.
Wow.
It's more fuel
Okay.
efficient. I just had to say that.
Wow.
I also think it's funny to learn how to drive in a place where
You don't need to drive.
not only don't you need to drive, but actually it's a bad idea to drive because you're just wasting a limited resource
Well, that is the world that we live in here.
in a much more extreme way, but fair enough. All right. So are you are you
Yeah.
ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So Donna washes dishes and seems, dare I say, lessive. Henry comes in and wants a drink. Donna agrees and they walk out, and we will pick up with that
Yeah.
later. A few short scenes there, actually like four short scenes in a row. um
Yeah.
Now we get a long one. Boyd comes into the sheriff's station and it's been searched. He hears a noise and draws his gun. It's a copsta. She wants her gun back. Boyd doesn't want to deal with it. Akopsta defends her actions with the guns. Boyd says she needs to prove that she can handle it. She doesn't have to prove shit because she's a real cop. Boyd wonders when she got out of the academy. She says, none of your business.
Uh-huh.
He says this place is his business. He keeps people alive. Akopsta says she's been doing a real shit job of it lately. Boyd tells her to get the fuck out. She still wants her gun. He reveals that it's in a hole in the wall behind the map. He gets it out and takes out the bullets and hands it to her empty. He says she can have the bullets when he thinks she deserves them. She nods and starts to walk out. Boy says, next time you come in without my permission, we're going to have a problem. She says, whatever you say, Sheriff.
Sheriff. Yeah, we need a word that means nodding, but surly.
Yeah.
Like a surly nod.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's definitely a
Yeah.
surly thing going on
Yeah.
here.
Well, as we said earlier, it's annoying that she, like it's just all about principle, I guess. But y- you can't do anything with these guns except hurt humans. And like the gun is just not going to do you any good to protect against the monsters. And so yeah, it's all just about pride, I guess,
Hmm.
which is annoying. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I
And
agree.
it's just not particularly interesting. And Randall had the whole thing with the gun. Like,
Yep.
yeah. It's
Yep.
just like automatic. Um which is it's funny because all these Canadian actors, it's like automatically if you wanna, piss off an American, you just take away their gun.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. So like, okay. Um, one thing I was gonna say about this scene is I feel like this scene illustrates what I would call the most basic form of drama. Two characters who want opposing things and that creating the conflict. Like it's very simple. She wants her gun. He doesn't want to give her a gun.
Uh-huh.
Like that's pretty much the whole like
Yeah.
thing going on in the scene. Okay. The other thing I was gonna say is I feel like this is my prediction going forward. I know this isn't starting off real well. Okay. I know it's not starting off well, but I do feel like the fact that he relents and gives her the gun unloaded is a little bit of an olive branch. And obviously, she doesn't leave on a super friendly note, but it could have been worse. She could have tried to fight him for the bullets or something. Like that doesn't happen. She accepts it to a degree. And I think that this is destined for her to become like a new deputy, if not to even assume the sheriff role and let Boyd be free to be a more general sort of mayor type character that doesn't have to do the law enforcement stuff. But she's going to have to like go through some
Yeah.
training, let's say, before like that's allowed to happen. But I feel like
Yeah,
that's
down
the
the road. I mean, it makes sense because it seems like Kenny doesn't really want to be the deputy
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
And yeah, the story should expand enough for Boyd to go off and do some other things.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and he
exactly.
is already getting irritated at some of the ways in which the town folk are disappointing him as he tries to keep them alive.
Yes.
But yeah, she's gonna have to do a lot to earn the trust of the people here. And she's got to come to terms with this place.
Definitely. Both things are true. So my prediction is that she'll both like experience something that helps her to turn next. If she's not headed for like a freak out and she's going to die or something, she'll experience something that allows her to start to come to terms with how crazy the place is. And also, I think she'll do something that helps to like begin her path of redemption,
Uh-huh.
particularly with Boyd, but in general with the whole crew, because I mean, they, I think generally they know that she just like shot someone through the window, and generally speaking, like they, at least from earlier in the show, like they weren't real tolerant of any sort of transgressions along those lines. So yeah, I think she's got a ways to carve, but I feel like there's gonna be, heading into these final episodes, like plenty of opportunity for her to like step up, and I just think that's gonna happen. So I want to throw that prediction out there
It's noted,
because
so when it happens, you'll get credit.
I think it makes sense to have this, and I feel like these lines about you're not a real cop, and she actually, even if she is maybe fresh out of the academy, she did at least go to the academy. So I don't know.
Yeah, but he was a career Marine, so
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know, but it's sort of different. But yeah, fair enough. Okay. So you ready? All right. Donna pours some neat liquor from behind the bar and like moonshine or whatever they're making
yeah,
there,
moonshine.
and asks Henry how things are going. He says not too well. He admits wishing that he never came there and just continued believing that Victor was dead. He
Yeah.
regrets thinking that way. Donna pours another round.
Yeah.
I guess when your long lost son is yelling at a ventriloquist dummy to talk to him all night, you think, you know what?
It's tough.
This is a lot to take in.
It's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny how like Henry seemed potentially suspicious for a while early on, and they're just so not playing that even
They
remotely
dropped that
at this
right
point.
away.
It's not
Yeah.
even I'm not even a little bit suspicious because
Yeah.
he's behaving to me like totally normally.
Yeah.
Like this all seems very reasonable to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm not worried, except about, yeah, like whatever's actually happening with Victor, which absolutely could be something pretty bad.
Yeah.
um okay, and like whatever happened in the past too. Okay, Are you ready to
I'm
continue?
ready.
All right, so we go back to Ethan, Jade, Jim, and Tabitha. They arrive at the Red Rocks, not the one you're thinking of, right? I'm not talking about in
Live at Red
Colorado.
Rocks,
All
yeah.
right, this is the three Red Rocks, literally.
They're
Um,
stones.
Ethan, stones, three red stones. Sorry. Ethan asks if they're the ones from Tabitha's dream. She says it's not just the stones. She remembers how the place felt when she was running. She points out where she started and where she came to hide behind the rocks. Jim asks which one. She points to one of them and says the following.
Oh dear.
Good luck with this. Whatever. I was so confused by this line. I can't even tell you. This is like that. Is this really where it happens? Here's Tabitha's contribution. Whatever was making everyone scream was on the other side of this rock. And she would look up and then wake up every time. Jim wonders about Tabitha seeing this place before she got there, like Miranda, as Tabitha mentions. How does that help? Jade then suggests that maybe Aristotle got it wrong. uh, I think Aristotle got a few things wrong, Jade. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah.
He was not perfect in every thought he
He
ever
was
had.
into slavery, I think.
He was into a lot of things that are very questionable. Not to, disparage Aristotle, but anyway.
Despair
The
Aristotle.
Spirits Tunnel. Miranda said that she was chosen, and seeing this place was a proof, and Tabitha saw this place as a child, and so that means that she never had a chance. Like she was destined to come to that tree in the road all along. That's basically his conclusion,
Yeah.
from that. That that it's there's not there wasn't free will, I guess, in having arrived there. That seems to be the implication that he's making. Okay. So which, is a valid point. And there's also the bracelet, which they did bring up earlier, but they don't bring up here. Actually, I should add the bracelet to the list, since there was also a second bracelet thing from the
Yeah.
car, which I feel like should have come up by now, but hasn't. All right, I gotta write that down for later. Anyway, um, uh, yeah. So I think that's all valid. Um, and the connection to the outside world, I think, is overall like a developing mystery, since they've like strengthened it this season, like very much so. I mean, we before this season we didn't even know there was a connection to the outside world. For all we knew, no one in the outside world ever knew about this place. The only time they could find out is when they got there and they were trapped. So anyway, the other thing I was gonna say is, like, yeah, this thing Tabitha says I'm so confused by, because she says whatever was making everyone scream. That's how she starts, and I'm like, who is everyone? I didn't
Like
know there
everyone
was
in a
anyone.
dream. Like she's having a dream. There's a bunch of people screaming. They're screaming because of something. Haven't you had dreams before? You never remember your dreams. That's your problem.
No, okay, no. Okay, like, yes, I'm not saying that couldn't. The thing that
I want to hear everything about the dream.
I agree, but the thing that threw me about it was that, in the previous episode, when she reveals that she had this dream, we get a glimpse of it, right? But they don't really show, I mean, there's no audio,
Right.
right? So, but there's no indication that everyone is screaming. Who? There wasn't anyone else
I
there
see what you
that we
mean.
see.
Yeah.
And then she says, whatever is making everyone scream was on the other side of this rock. And then she would look up. So they do show her hiding behind the rock, and they do show her looking up and screaming, as she describes here. But like this other part, I'm like, there was no portrayal of that at all. Like, and so it just feels like, I don't know, like, did they just want to slowly unfurl what the dream was
I think you
about?
just want to slowly unfurl it.
It's just, this was a weird way to me to, I feel like it would have helped me if they cut a little more of the dream into this scene, just to like clarify what we're supposed to visualize here, because when I'm picturing the dream they showed us and what she's saying here, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So
You're not wrong.
it just seems weird to me, and it's like I don't even know I don't know what this means. This is like such a strange statement to throw out there. So anyway, but I do think the idea that they were chosen to be there is a significant idea. Feels
Yeah.
very lost. And I think that's going to be a big thing going forward.
Yeah.
Like, because I think they all could have been chosen in different ways. The Tabitha Miranda version of Chosen is clearly unique and like different, but nonetheless, I feel like there's a chance that like they are sort of all selected, for various reasons.
Yeah, well, for a while it seemed like there was a pattern developing of people um ending up here when they were trying to turn over a new leaf.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
now there's this other thing with these visions with these two women.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, so did everybody in Miranda's family and then in Tabitha's family just end up there because of their proximity to her,
Right, right, right.
you know?
Right, right.
Or were
Or were
they
they
also
destined in
destined to
separate
be there?
ways? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That is unclear. I agree. That's a fair point. It is notable that Henry does end up there eventually, even though he
Yeah.
didn't go with Miranda initially.
It's the long game of destiny.
Very long game, yeah, for sure. But yeah, another point about Miranda is that, as far as I can tell from the story, I mean, I don't think she was at some kind of crisis or turning point or trying to turn over a new leaf or anything like that. It seems like she had this vision when she
Yeah.
had this drug trip and then like became sort of fixated by it and it sort of drew her there, like that's how it comes across.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Tabitha's thing is a bit different since it was this dream when she was a child, and there's this whole period where presumably she's not really thinking about it anymore. She's like it's some weird recurring childhood nightmare, and she kind of just lets it go until it appears here in this place. Um, so anyway, those are thoughts. Do they help? Probably not, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, so you ready to continue? All
Hmm.
right. So um Tilly goes into the kitchen, Colony House, finding Ellis, and asks about Fatima. Ellis says, "Oh yeah, it's fine, blibbity blah." I guess he doesn't actually know the stuff that happened with Tilly and Fatima. I guess she didn't tell him because he
Right.
he acts like he can just play it off. But Tilly says you don't have to pretend, and if he needs anything, she's there. Ellis mentions the ultrasound and the implications therein. Tilly tries to console him, saying to enjoy every moment. Don't grieve the living until they're gone. That's what she said to her family after her diagnosis. She describes the process of coming to terms with it and suggests that life isn't the end, and that makes things not seem so scary. None of us gets to stay forever. Ellis doesn't need forever. Tilly offers whatever help she can provide. Ellis says, why? You barely know us. And Tilly says, I'm old, have cancer, and I like a love story. Is that good enough? And Ellis says yes. And this is probably the closest Tilly comes to being a little bit like the old suspicious Tilly here, where it's like, is that really it? Is that really it? It might be. It probably is, especially since she's dead now.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I've let go of my suspicions.
I'm not good too. But this is the only moment in the episode where I
Yeah.
felt like she was a little bit cagey.
Yeah.
But I think it's believable enough.
If
Um,
they pull some kind of bait and switch with her, I don't know. I'm gonna be, yeah. If like if she's not really dead,
hmm
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That life isn't the end. Like, yeah, she
Mhm.
gonna like, yeah, either resurrect or appear suddenly. I don't know, some weird
She
shit. Is
could
she the
very
kimono
well.
lady? I mean, I
No,
doubt it,
she's not
but
the kimono lady.
I doubt it. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. There's something weird about this to me, at least.
I didn't find anything weird about this.
But I do think that ultimately the main point of this scene is just they know they're headed for a Tilly death scene
Right.
and they want to kind of establish.
Right. I definitely didn't think that when we watched it, but in hindsight,
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah. A kind of connection. Of course, Alice is gonna walk in at the
Yeah.
end, so I think this is like also kind of setting the stage for that.
Right,
Um,
right. Otherwise, Alice is like, Who's that
Who
woman you just
who the
stabbed
fuck
with
is that?
garden shears?
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for the next scene?
Yes.
Okay. So Fatima's in her room. The ivy looks like it's infected at the entry point. That's what it looks
It's like
like to me, at
red
least. It's like
or
red and yeah,
huh.
yeah.
I did not notice that.
Well, I shouldn't say the IV is infected, but rather the
Yeah,
entry
the
point and
right,
her
the skin
arm
around the IV.
seems to be infected. I mean, it's red and irritated.
Yeah.
I don't know 100% that that means infection. I'm not a doctor like some Christies, but you know. Um, anyway, um, uh, then she throws up in a bowl, and then she starts feeling something in her abdomen, and we see her like ribs, and then her belly sort of like sinks inwards.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
And then Ellis comes in, and I guess it goes back to normal. I was a little confused about the shot that they show at this point, whether it was showing like, no, it's back to normal, or whether it was showing, no, it's still there. I couldn't.
I took it as either it's back to normal or he's looking and he doesn't see this phenomenon that the viewer
Okay.
and she has seen.
Okay. Fatima says, "What's happening to me?" Tilly comes in and tells Ellis it's fine.
Oh
Like,
boy.
thanks, Tilly. And then he tries to console Fatima, and that's the end of the scene. So I will say this scene was the first time where I actually started seriously considering the idea that Fatima is the kimono lady.
Mm,
Because this like stomach rib thing,
yeah.
that's where I was like, ooh, that actually looks like it could turn into a kimono lady kind of appearance, you
When her
know.
hair straightens of its own accord, that's when I'll believe it.
That's a fair point. The hair has not
Because
yet
I can't
straightened.
imagine kimono lady wakes up every morning, plugs in the hot iron, gets to pressing.
Now that I'm kimono lady, I have to straighten my hair every day, Ellis. All right. Anyway. Yeah, I don't really think that. Like, I'm still not convinced by that theory, but it was the first time where I was like, it seemed like a vague similarity, you know? And then obviously there was the Polaroid thing, which also could just be they might just be trolling the audience. I'm not 100% convinced they're not doing that. But anyway, um and again, these are things that could be psychological, but to me, like they are played very similarly to many other visions that characters have had that I think were not psychological.
Yeah.
So anyway, I believe this isn't psychological. I'm planting my flag on that. We'll see. But I guess we will yeah, well, we're gonna pick up with this later,
Yeah.
obviously. Okay. So Randall's driving. Julie wants to take over. He agrees, but then he starts to see cicadas. Julie doesn't see them. They do make that clear.
Yeah.
Randall freaks out and stops the van and jumps out. Julie follows. He tells her to go home and runs off. She follows anyway. We're going to pick up with that. At the infirmary, Ellis is trying to take some antipsychotic drugs. Steal them is what I mean, not like ingest them. Anyway, from the supply they have there. But Christy, the doctor, objects that it might make things worse. Boyd comes in and hears the story. Christy asks for the pills. Boyd insists as well, and so Ellis slams the pills down and storms out. Boyd follows. Ellis wants to know what to do. He mentions the worms and what happened to mom. He wants to know what nightmare to be afraid of, and he can't do anything to help. Boyd tries to console him, and they hug, and then Ellis walks away. Um,
Yeah.
Walks away to the nightmare beginning.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a nightmare with murder in it. That's
A lot
my
of the nightmares here have
that's my
murder in them.
spoiler. But yeah, I think this is like this is also to me like very understandable. It's just like I don't know what the fuck to do, but if it's a psychological thing, maybe I just give her some pills and like maybe that'll help. I
Sure,
don't
yeah.
know. You know, it's like desperate search for like something he can do and like
Yeah, well,
it's
I mean,
like
he's helpless.
yeah,
Everybody here, it's like, what the fuck do you do?
yeah. Yeah. But I also understand, like, no, that's not necessarily gonna help. You don't know what you're doing. You're just like throwing pills at a
Right.
problem that like aren't even necessarily relevant and could even make things worse. So like let's like not do that. But
Yep.
anyway, um he's going to, yeah, well, we're gonna see him again soon. Okay. So next scene, Julie calls for Randall walking through the woods. Then she comes upon the dungeon ruins, which we talked about earlier. Randall calls out to Julie, uh, who asks, "What is that?" Randall doesn't know. Julie asks, "What happened to him back there?" And he says he'll tell her on the way back and wants to leave. Julie says, "Can you feel that?" and wants to check it out, meaning the dungeon place. Randall stops her but denies feeling anything, clearly lying, I think.
Clearly lying.
I mean,
She knows he's lying.
the signals are
Yeah.
there. Yeah. They need to leave as it will get dark soon. She is convinced and they leave. And presumably, this is a plot line we will pick up
For
later.
sure. They all know how to get back here.
Because
Uh,
I don't think they bring up this and then just don't mention it again. That seems too weird to me.
no, I was so sure they were gonna walk into that area
Me
and like
too.
vanish into a different
Me
time.
too. Me too. I was ready for that
Um,
because they've shown that a few times in
yeah.
the previous season. And
Yeah, Boyd has been to that
yep,
place. That's
yep,
where the
yep.
yeah.
And they were there too.
Yeah,
I guess like somehow they don't know that they were. I guess the weird thing about their being there is that
they
they were
were
in
like
that weird
unconscious or
trance state
something.
and their
Yeah.
actual body was somewhere else.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah,
But
but are they gonna go back with Marielle? I mean,
it
because
feels like they should. It feels like if they
yeah,
go back, they should go with Marielle because they're the three musketeers that had the thing in common. So it would totally make sense. And they did have Randall talking about it with Marielle earlier.
right. And now they're all three gonna be staying at the infirmary
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
So
It's all right there. It's that's got to happen, I think. It's possible some other character will get involved, but it does feel like those three are a minimum for that plot line to progress. So I don't know where that's going. It does seem like normally shows like, you know, that was a season long arc, the dungeon and what was there, even though
yeah.
the answers were pretty vague and not clear at all. Um, you know, nonetheless, we did get to a resolution point, seemingly. He destroyed the music box. Unless you stop the melody, he stopped the melody. So, like, what's the problem, you
Yeah.
know?
All everything is normal
I
now.
don't understand. But anyway, Kimono Lady was also wrapped up in that plot, at least seemingly. So I'll just mention that since that's still afloat. And like, is
What a
this
kimono lady is Marielle.
is this really where it happens? Oh
Marielle
yeah.
has straight
Ma-
hair.
Mariella has straight hair. Yeah, good point. Julia has straight hair too. Just throwing
That's
it out
true.
there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really don't think either one of them
I don't either.
is Kimono Lady, but we'll see. Okay. So you ready
I'm
for
ready.
our final scene?
I'm ready.
Fatima goes into the greenhouse and picks up the rotten vegetable bucket, which is inexplicably there. No one knows why. It's a mystery to all of us. Then puts it back. So she's actually like,
She's trying to turn over a new leaf.
she's like trying, yeah, she's trying to not eat the rotten vegetables. She's trying to like use her willpower to overcome this. I think that's the idea. She's like,
Yes.
well, if it's all in my head, then I can choose not to eat this stuff.
Yeah.
So let me do
What
that.
would Aristotle say?
What would Aristotle say? I'm sure that's what she was thinking. Okay. Then she has some kind of pains.
Mhm.
Not clear, but Tilly comes in and
Yeah,
says
it's like her rejection of the rotten
brings
vegetables
on the
brings
pains.
on this
Yeah,
pain.
that's definitely what it feels like. Tilly comes in and says she's gonna help. Fatima tells her to go away. She says, everything will be okay. Fatima says, I said go, and stabs Tilly in the chest with, I think, some gardening shears. I think that's what they were. Not that it matters.
They must be the sharpest fucking gardening shears. None of my gardening shears, if I like, it would hurt, but I wouldn't be able to murder someone.
Murder someone with
Not
that.
not with one
They
stab
were like
to the
abnormally
chest.
long, you know, they were kind of
Yeah.
long and thin, which makes it like a little
It's
more
the
plausible.
thinness, I think. None
Yeah,
of mine are that thin. They look like
yeah.
scissors.
Yeah, it's they might have just been fabricated for the scene, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something that's a
Those are our
plausible.
murdering
Yeah,
shears.
murdering shears, exactly. So she stabs her with some gardening shears. Fatima immediately regrets it and apologizes and calls for help. Tilly, dying, says, "You have to run." Ellis enters and looks on. Tilly dies. Fatima says, "What have I done?" Fiend.
Fiend. Yeah, you have to run. What does it mean?
Okay, so well, I'll just go ahead and say what I think it means.
Please.
So I feel like it's actually that to me, like that actually seems like a reasonable, normal thing to say. I feel like all she means is you just committed a murder.
You
You
can't.
need to run because you're going to be in trouble for
Yeah.
doing this. Like I think that's what she means.
It certainly could mean that.
I don't know for sure, but
Or it could mean that Ellis is Rosemary's babying her.
oh no,
I
oh
I
no.
don't
Is
believe
he a
that.
John Cassavetes this whole time? Yikes.
I don't believe that.
Yikes.
But yeah, you
Yikes.
have to run,
Is he
like
an
save
actor?
yourself. Yeah, no,
Did
I
another
mean,
actor
oh my
mysteriously
God,
break his
stop,
leg?
stop. It's like it might just mean that like I know you did this as an accident. You have to run to
Yeah,
protect yourself from
the
blame.
consequences. Yeah.
But it's weird. It's a weird dying phrase.
It is. It is. And it's another example of Tilly being a bit weird, but based on what you said earlier and so on, like I can sort of believe that like her dying thought would be like, I want to help you, even though you just murdered me.
Yeah,
It's
because
kind of
she's old and she has cancer and she
yeah.
loves a love story.
Yeah, and because like Fatima did it impulsively, clearly, and immediately regrets it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like there's a different way they could have played this scene where, like her eyes start glowing and she's like, I said
Right.
go, and then she like stabs her 85 times or something. You know what I mean? You could do that. That's like a horror movie scene I've seen, but like a possession type
Yeah,
story.
yeah. It's not like
You
that.
know,
Yeah.
it's like, but they play it in this way where it's a moment and it feels like it connects, like I'm angry all the time that she said
Yeah.
earlier. It's like this flash of like go away, and then she reacts impulsively and then is like, oh shit, what have I done? It's like there's a part of her that's like still there and still normal, and then there's this other part that's like slowly taking out, like that's how it comes across, like it's sort of a possession story, but she's not all the way there yet. She's in this like halfway point where it's like it's starting to affect her behavior in more extreme ways, but it hasn't. Obviously this is a huge escalation, but I just think
Yeah.
to me it was notable that they don't go all the way with it. Like thought I in various scenarios I was running in my head for where this could go. Like I definitely imagined a more extreme scenario where she like fully gives in to like whatever this thing is and does something like this, but then like, that's like a turning point. But it's like
Hmm.
when Ellis comes in, she's behaving like a normal person would who regrets having done a murder.
Yeah.
There's no indication that she's under the influence of some dark force or whatever. Um, but obviously we're gonna have to, I mean, there will be consequences for this. What do you think's gonna happen here? Do you think that
Well, I think Ellis and she are gonna have to just carry around this secret.
yeah, so you think they're gonna
Um,
like hide the body or something and like try to play it off like, oh, Tilly just went missing. I don't know,
I don't know.
or are they gonna plant the body somewhere and try to, because like if no one saw it, you know, or like I'll tell you what. I just thought of a like crazy ass scenario. Go with me on this. What if, because they have established, I don't think this is going to happen, but what if, because they have established that the place is monitoring them at all times, right? We've had like the monsters, like you said, this place couldn't break you, boy. Let's find out. Like, like they know their names. If you keep coming down here, Victor, we're going to have to make you stay, right? There's all these indications your wife better stop messing around in that basement, that they're, right? So, that suggests to me that the monsters slash whatever else know that this happened.
Uh-huh.
They could reveal it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
That was a thought that occurred to me
Yeah, so,
that
like,
like,
they hide it and they're somehow successful to a s up to a certain point, and
yeah,
then a monster tells
yeah,
some other
they
person. Yeah.
could totally do that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, I feel like that's possible, and I feel like they've set the stage for that happening.
Just to sow chaos. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. So anyway, I feel like that's a way this could go.
Yeah.
Or they could go on the run. Like, I don't know for sure.
Oh, yeah, like the
You know,
2 of them run, yeah.
since it ends with you have to run, it seems like another way they could go with it is they just go, they just run. You know, because it's like, oh shit, we can't, you know,
Yeah.
like they don't even try to hide it or cover it up. Like they think it's too risky. It is the daytime and they're just like right out there in plain view. So, and you know, I mean, they've already been spotted there, you know, Fatima's already been spotted there before. So it's like not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I don't know. I have to say I'm not that interested in that plot line. Like, I wanna know what the ventriloquist dummy is gonna say. I wanna know what Elgin meant when he said that shit. I wanna know what is in that dungeon ruin, like, and I just kind of don't care about Fatima's demon baby.
Okay. Okay. I'm into it. I think it's fine. I'm actually really happy that it didn't turn into a normal pregnancy plot.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Like I think they've taken it in an interesting direction, and I think like this escalation like adds some intrigue to the process, and I am really curious where it's going. I think I agree in general that, you know, Tabitha, the Jasper thing, the,
Mhm.
you know, that like there's a little more mystery there that's like a
Yeah,
little more tantalizing. But I am interested in this storyline.
yeah.
I think there's something here. So
Yeah, and I get that, but I also think, you're really into mystery stories and also you're more interested in horror than I
it is a
am.
horror story
And
for
it's
sure.
just a horror thing. And this was always my issue with the show. I said it from very early on. They're gonna create this proliferation of supernatural freaky things instead of drilling down into a narrow number of mysteries and cosmologies, and that was always going to be the issue for me, and here it
Hmm.
is playing out. It's like I'm not, it's fine, I'll see, but like I just can I predict that this whole how are we going to deal with the accidental murder of Tilly is going to become really tedious.
Okay. Okay.
So
I think there's a chance that it's not tedious, but
I hope you're right.
it it definitely could become tedious. I can't deny it. But I think my main hope comes from the fact that Fatima's plot has been a season long thing so far. And we are, you know, there's 3 episodes left. I think that they can't spend that long on dealing with the Tilly thing. I think it has to progress from here, and that this is part of the escalation. So I feel like there's a decent chance it doesn't become tedious. If the Tilly murder happened in episode 1 or 2 or 3, I would be more concerned about that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing, they're definitely not going to put Fatima in the box.
They're not putting anyone in the box anymore. Everyone can do whatever they
But I
want.
mean, they should.
I agree that they should, but I seriously doubt they will. But whatever's, I mean, but I do think Fatima is on a course where she could still end up dead
Yeah, I
or,
mean, Donna could turn to Boyd and be like, "All right, where's the justice?"
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Tilly doesn't have a lot of she's not close with anybody here
Hmm.
except for Fatima.
Yeah,
Um, anyway.
yeah, yeah. So I think I think we'll get I think we'll get I think there's a chance that you know, either she dies or she's like transformed in some irreparable way, you know, or they resolve it, or they find a way to undo this process. There's some shit, you know, the place has shown a pattern of you know, you can think about the, you know, the ballerina music box thing, you can think about the food shortage, You know, it has this pattern of like giving you a problem, but then also, and the talismans, they're giving you a solution. You know,
Yeah.
so I feel like there's a chance that, you know, if they run, they maybe find something that's relevant. You know, I don't know. There's a number of ways it could go
Yeah, I could.
for
Yeah.
sure. And I think the murder was played in a way where I think she could continue on the show um without it. Like I don't think she did something that's worse than what some of the other characters have done who are still on the
Yeah.
show. So so I think it's not irredeemable, but I do think it's a major turning point and it will
Yeah.
necessarily escalate that plot that was kind of reached a certain point in this episode, and I think this will push us beyond that. But I agree that yeah, I'm a bit more excited about the other
Yeah.
developments. And I really think I think of all of them, I think Victor's thing with Jasper is like to me the most seemingly the most relevant to like the history of the place. And Elgin's thing I have no fucking clue.
I know.
And Tabitha's thing feels like the biggest thing overall, at least as far
Yeah.
as I can tell, because it's connecting with the outside world and therefore like has larger implications, I think, than any of the other storylines.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is my like number one interest. And then
I just think that's the one that's going to play out the
I
slowest.
think you're probably right, and I think there's a decent chance it isn't even resolved this
I
season.
think it's very possible that the thing with Victor and the dummy is not going to be it's not going to be very illuminating.
It might not be,
But I still want to know.
but I want to know what happened. I feel like that dummy can help us understand. That dummy can
I
help
guess
us.
I'm saying that because I'm realizing as I'm saying it, like that's a really ableist term.
Yeah, it is
What is the name of that creature? That's wrong.
Jasper.
Jasper. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, uh, but I really, I am still baffled by the massacre, and I want to know what the fuck happened. And I feel like we have a chance of learning that. I think it might even be in the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
episode. Maybe they do an extended flashback or
Yeah.
something.
And Jasper could tell us that the extent to which that's relevant to the broader
It's not
story
clear.
is not clear.
I agree. I agree. But I feel like, I mean, they have been teasing
Yeah, I want to
the
know.
massacre
Yeah.
since season one,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I just feel like they'll find a way to make it relevant, but just because like why are they stringing it along so long if it doesn't have anything, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's something relevant about that storyline that we'll find out. But in general, yeah, I'm just like, all right, let's find out already. Like what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Who did it, first of all? Because like that's unclear. Why did they know it? Why did Miranda know about it? Like that's another thing. Did Jasper say something? And you know, like I don't
Yeah.
know. Did she find out from Christopher? Like I don't know what the fuck happened. Is like I don't know. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
Well,
it.
we got 3 more episodes,
3 more episodes. Yeah.
and then we'll get all of our answers.
All
All
questions.
the
All will be
mysteries resolved.
revealed. Tune in
Yeah.
next week.
Well,
All right.
yeah.
So yeah, final thoughts. Are you ready to
No, I mean, no. I just only questions.
only questions,
Yeah.
questions, questions, questions. All right. Well, we have 3 questions for you, and we'll be back next week with 3 more.
We sure will.
So until then,
Buzz,
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 buzz.
buzz.